3 years after the coronavirus first emerged in the Chinese city of Wuhan, Beijing this month again began ditching its hardline containment policy known as Zero COVID. President Xi during this New Year said the light of hope is right in front of us as China faces an explosion of COVID-19 cases after an abrupt lifting of the restrictions. Now, since the surge in COVID cases in China, Chinese hospitals have since been hit by a flood of mostly elderly patients. Crematoriums have been overloaded and many pharmacies have run out of fever medications. It was the Chinese president's second time commenting on the outbreak this week. On Monday, he also called for measures to effectively protect people's life. China on Saturday reported more than 7,000 new infections and 1 death linked to COVID out of its population of 1.4 billion. But the figures appear to be out of step with the reality on the ground. That's the latest that we are gathering in for our viewers. I have my guest Sanjeev Srivastava, who is an international affair expert, joining me on the broadcast. Good morning, sir, and thank you so much for joining this New Year morning. First of all, a very happy New Year to you. Now, sir, we know that Chinese economy has been on a downfall. We know that Chinese COVID data since the COVID started 2 years ago, Chinese have been trying to dodge the actual figures, the reality on the ground. Now we see the president commenting and saying that there is light of hope right in front of us. Sir, how do you view all these developments which are coming in from China, wherein at a point in time we see that China is trying to mislead the world, and at the same time president is saying that there is a light of hope right in front of us?
Well, first of all, a very good morning to you and a very happy New Year to you and to all the viewers, those who are watching this show. And obviously, you know, this message which has come from Chinese President Xi Jinping is again an attempt to cover up his failures. If you look at the year 2022, China has failed on several fronts, on economic front, on managing this COVID pandemic. And obviously, they had imposed a very barbaric zero COVID policy under which people of China suffered throughout. And when the protest became much, greater, then only he was forced to withdraw this so-called zero COVID policy. And after that, you see the surge of cases, and obviously that has happened precisely because of a very poor vaccination drive, very weak vaccine, as well as this kind of imposition of zero COVID policy. And obviously, year 2022 has been a very disastrous year for the people of China, and still they are facing all sorts of difficulties. Obviously, China does not release data. Xi Jinping has mentioned about the COVID pandemic and new light of hope, etc. But it clearly indicates that the situation is not normal at all, and it's a very pathetic situation in China. And China is not able to deal with this new variant of corona pandemic properly. But only thing is that, again, they are doing a criminal act. They are not releasing data about it. They are trying to cover it up, and Xi Jinping has tried to cover it up through his sweet words in this New Year message. Even WHO had to come, because WHO was already facing a lot of criticism because of its approach. So WHO's Director General, Dr. Tedros, had to come out in open saying that China must release data. And obviously, unless until China releases those information data about what's happening on the ground, international community, despite all willingness to help the people of China, we will not be able to do anything. So I think this rosy picture which Xi Jinping is trying to project is not the reality. The reality is very harsh, it's very tough. People of China are suffering. But let's hope that in this new year, sufferings of the people of China will be lessened. But unfortunately, this current regime of Mr. Xi Jinping and his Politburo and Communist Party of China, they do not take proper care of Chinese people. And obviously, their power ambition is very, very huge, deep. They want to dominate not only the people of China, but the entire world. But the way they go about it is very, negative. I think, and also international community has been facing all sorts of deception, all sorts of hiding about information, etc. from China. So this New Year message is certainly again an attempt to cover up. But yes, it is a new year. So he has given a message like each year. He gives the message to the people of China. So this year again he has done this. But reality of the ground is that people are suffering. People of China is under enormous difficulties at this point of time.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.